Hi guys, how are you? Welcome back to the channel. For those who don't know me, my name is Bruno and I tell real criminal cases here on the internet. And if you're just arriving because now you're not yet subscribed to the channel, I now invite you to subscribe to the channel and activate the bell so you don't miss notifications, so that every time I publish a new video, YouTube will notify you and you can run here to watch it with me. I also invite you to follow me on social media because I am always interacting with you there. But now let's get to what matters. Before we start today's case, I want to give you a warning. This video has a documentary nature and was produced using information available on the internet and compiled into a video. The purpose of this documentary is not to shock anyone, much less to disrespect the people involved in the case. As you know, on this channel, the facts are narrated with the greatest respect possible, people. Today's case is extremely shocking and revolting and makes us think about what people are capable of doing when they are in a moment of rage. In fact, talking about this, the moments when we are extremely nervous and angry are precisely the moments when we should avoid making decisions and attitudes that we may later regret. I think that the well-known emotional intelligence needs to be improved day by day, and it is up to each of us to take care of ourselves so that living in society becomes less and less painful for everyone. Guilherme Antonio Cazella was born in the city of Leme, in the interior of the state of São Paulo, and yes, folks, he was my countryman, so you don't know. I was also born in the city of Leme, but I have lived in Campinas for many years, and for those who are in this symbol from outside and don't know Brazil, the state of São Paulo is about 1,000 kilometers away from the capital of Brazil, which is the city of Brasília in the Federal District. But going back to Guilherme, he was born on August 29th, 2000, making him a legitimate Virgo. He was the youngest child of the couple, Lourdes Cazella, and her husband, Paulo Cazella. The young man had a sister called Camila and a brother called Paulo. His childhood was filled with a lot of love, and he was a very happy little boy, as is the case in the vast majority of families. Guilherme, who was the youngest, was very loved by his family, and his sister Camila had a huge affection for her little brother. This happened not only because he was the youngest in the family. In fact, the boy's life was a big battle from a very early age, because when he was just 10 years old, he was diagnosed with leukemia, for those who have never heard of it. It is a malignant disease that affects the white blood cells in our body and generally has an unknown origin. Leukemia's main characteristic is the accumulation of diseased cells in the bone marrow that replace normal blood cells. Largely because of this, the disease is popularly known as blood cancer. It is clear that this was a very difficult and dark period for the family, but the boy could count on the love of all his friends and family, especially his mother, Lourdes, who spent several days next to her son Guilherme in the hospital while he underwent the painful treatment. Most of the treatment was carried out at Boldrin Hospital here in the city of Campinas, and Mrs. Lourdes was by her son's side the entire time. As we have all noticed, that was a tough battle that the little one had to fight to maintain his health, but he was not alone in this, and combined with the support he had from everyone around him, with the immense desire he had to live and make his dreams come true. After 3 years, Guilherme finally won this war. The boy was in love with his mother, and as a tribute, he got a tattoo on his chest with her name. But he didn't stop there because the young man's heart was so big that it fit in his chest. The name of his niece, also a beautiful little girl named Emmanuelle, and it is clear that he had unconditional love for his good niece. Guilherme never hid from anyone that his biggest dream was to have his own space, his own things, and build his own family. And in the end, to make that dream come true, he chose a very happy and fun young girl called Mika. The two had been dating for just over 2 years, and the young man was completely in love with her. Another of Guilherme's great passions was animals. He loved the animals and his girlfriend. They adopted Jade, a pit bull who was treated by the young couple as a daughter, just like every young adult, and that includes me personally. I don't know if you know, but I'm an auto enthusiast and I love cars, and Guilherme was no different. He loved cars too, and his biggest wish was to buy a Volkswagen Golf Sportline, and he worked hard to make this dream come true. He saw my people, so much so that in addition to working as a motorcycle courier for a local restaurant called Fragostoso, Guilherme also sold some silver jewelry, and everyone knows these things. In other words, the boy was very focused and determined in relation to his goals. Guilherme loved children and really wanted to be a father. Together, he and his girlfriend Mika dreamed of the life they would have in the future with their children, their dogs, and of course in their own little house. But unfortunately, all these dreams were abruptly interrupted by a simple moment of rage from an out-of-control man. March 2nd, 2023 was another ordinary day in Guilherme's life. He would start work at 10 in the morning, but before that he decided he would have his coffee at home. Then the young man left the house with his motorcycle, and he went to the supermarket called Ja O Serve, which is located on September 7th Avenue. In the Barafunda neighborhood, still in the city of Leme, he went to the market to get bread. But during the journey, Guilherme was surprised by a man who was crossing the avenue outside the pedestrian crossing. The young man swerved his motorcycle to avoid hitting the pedestrian and then reared his motorcycle, which outraged the person who was crossing the street. He probably took it as some kind of provocation. This man's name is Paulo Eduardo Jacinto Gonçalves, 41 years old, who, when he got angry with Guilherme, insulted the young man with profanity, who returned with his motorcycle to take satisfaction with the man. But to Guilherme's surprise, Paulo got into his car, a white Fiat pickup truck, and started chasing him on the public road. The entire route taken by the two was captured by security cameras spread across the streets and avenues of the city of Leme. These were moments of despair for everyone who saw the chase, and Paulo was relentless. He wanted to vent his anger on Guilherme at any cost until he came to a bend in Dr. Mario Teixeira de Freitas Street, right behind the city's old tannery. Paulo caught up with Guilherme and used his car to press the young man against a post. The blow was so strong that the light pole broke due to the force of the collision. It was so big that it also injured the pickup driver. The emergency was called and Guilherme was taken to the hospital, but unfortunately he did not survive his serious injuries and he was declared dead. Shortly afterwards, the pickup driver who had chased and run over Guilherme also received medical attention but was then taken to the police station where he gave his statement. According to information provided by Mr. Paulo, Guilherme had threatened him, so he chased him with the sole intention of writing down the license plate number of the young man's motorcycle. However, when he went to get his cell phone to photograph the motorcycle's license plate, he ended up losing control of the vehicle and hitting the young man and his motorcycle. But it is worth remembering that Paulo's statement was contradicted by images from street security cameras and also by statements from witnesses who witnessed the entire action. According to witness reports, Paulo had also fired a firearm at Guilherme, and sometime later, investigations were able to prove that the man actually had a license to carry a firearm. But on the other hand, the information about the shooting against Guilherme has not yet been officially confirmed. Even so, the police automatically ruled out the possibility of a terrible accident, and the man was subsequently charged with intentional homicide for futile reasons. This case quickly made headlines in the country's largest circulation newspapers, leaving all the surrounding cities in shock. However, what had happened to the boy? Paulo Eduardo Jacinto Gonçalves had his preventive arrest ordered, but just over 2 months later, a turn of events left the entire small town of Leme in shock. On May 25, 2023, Mr. Paulo Eduardo Jacinto Gonçalves received a habeas corpus so that man could respond to the entire process in freedom. Yes, that's exactly what you heard. After generating the life of a young worker who had countless dreams and a whole life ahead of him, Paulo Eduardo Jacinto Gonçalves was released. I was extremely shocked by this benefit that this man received from being able to face the trial in freedom, because we are talking here about a murder charge. I'm not an expert in criminal law, but I had researched it on the website of the National Public Prosecutor's Office. Qualified homicide, it is considered a heinous crime, and unless the legislation has changed, how is it possible to grant habeas corpus? If there is someone out there who is an expert in criminal law and can explain this to us, leave it below in the comments so we can understand how this happens. There is a chance that this man could pose a risk to other people's lives, considering that a moment of rage was enough for him to take the life of a young man in such a cruel way. I don't need to say that the news of Paulo's release was like a punch in the stomach for Guilherme's family and friends. The entire community was left with a bitter taste in their mouth that justice is not being served. An Instagram profile was created for people to follow the progress of the case, and the hashtag Justice for Gui Cazella was also posted online. Guilherme's family and friends are not happy with Paulo being released 2.5 months after he took Guilherme's life, and really, if we stop to think about it, it's a very strange thing. In any case, a preliminary hearing was scheduled for June 8, 2023, but the population fears that Paulo may flee the country, considering that his girlfriend lives in the state of Acre, a state that borders Peru and Bolivia, and unfortunately it is more common than we imagine, criminals who flee to neighboring countries and remain on the run for years. In fact, there are cases where the fugitive is never found and manages to rebuild his life there, leaving behind all the pain and destruction that he caused to his victims and the victims' families. Of course, this case is far from over because we will probably have a big legal battle, and of course I will always keep you updated. So if there's any news about this case, I'll come back here with the update for you. It's good. And for those who stayed here with me, guys, don't forget to leave your like, which helps a lot in promoting the channel here. This specific video I'm going to ask you to share a lot because it's very important that people know what's going on, because people, for the love of God, where will Brazil end up every time I bring it? The Brazilian case here for you is the same thing. It's a feeling of impunity that makes me angry. But anyway, thank you very much to whoever stayed with me until now. A kiss to all of you, and see you in the next video.